We're going to take a little trip over to New Mexico for my story. It seems the folks over in Bernalillo County are finally coming to terms with the idea that adults are capable of making their own choices. The county commissioners have taken a step towards allowing some of their employees to consume cannabis off the clock without fear of a pink slip. Imagine that. We're still debating whether adults should be trusted to make their own decisions about what they do at home. The commissioners, by a 4-0 vote, moved forward with a proposal to update the county's drug and alcohol policy. The changes would take cannabis off the illegal drug list, meaning the days of random and pre-employment testing for cannabis might soon be gone for most of the county employees. It'll go up for final vote in December, but this is a significant step. Now, Commissioner Eric Olivas, who has been leading this charge, had to be clear. This doesn't mean that people can show up to work high as a kite. The policy still has a drug and alcohol-free workplace right at the top, which, as Olivas says, remains ironclad. But as it stands now, the county's approach to cannabis is what Olivas called a little squishy. Apparently, some departments and roles are more relaxed about it than others. Firefighters, for example, aren't sure if they can consume cannabis on their off time without risking their jobs. I think it's almost department by department, all of us explained, which sounds a bit like the Wild West. Don Hill, Bernalillo County's senior manager for labor and employee relations, chimed in to clarify that the current policy doesn't outright ban cannabis consumption. The issue is really whether an employee's consumption affects their ability to work safely. He said any misuse of alcohol or cannabis that renders someone unprepared on the job could get them disciplined or even dismissed. Fair enough, right? Over the course, of course, there are some exceptions to this proposed policy. Employees who carry firearms, drive commercial vehicles, or work in federally funded roles are still under Uncle Sam's watchful eye. Cannabis is still federally illegal after all, so while they may be trusted to carry a gun, they're apparently not trusted to make a choice about cannabis in their personal lives. Representatives from the local firefighter union, including Vice President Theodore Ugabaye and President Miguel Tittman, spoke up in favor of the changes. They've been pushing for something like this for 2 legislative sessions, and in a state like New Mexico that legalized cannabis, it's taken this long. As Tittman put it, this is about workers' rights to use a medicine on their off days. Let's be honest, if a firefighter or a person who risks their lives for others wants to consume cannabis to relax at home, who are we to say no? Olivas himself was quick to recognize the tough job these folks have. They're taking risks that are tremendous. Compared to most of us, he said, they're making life-changing decisions in the community. He added, seeing things in their day-to-day lives that most of us will never see. And that's the thing, these people with high-stress, high-stakes jobs. Maybe we should focus on supporting their mental health rather than worrying about what they do to unwind. Interestingly, the proposal even got the support of the county's only Republican commissioner, Walt Benson. Now, that's worth noting. Benson said he's known many first responders who've struggled with alcohol, and while trying to deal with PTSD, trauma, and pain, for some cannabis could be a healthier choice. Benson believes a substitute that doesn't have the same risks as alcohol. All of us also pointed out that nationally, cannabis legalization isn't a left or right issue anymore. What we've seen in cannabis as it's been legalized throughout the nation with conservative states and liberal states, it doesn't have that divide. He said that, and he's right, cannabis isn't the partisan battleground it used to be, and increasingly about common sense and basic freedoms. So here we are in 2024. We're still debating whether responsible adults should have the freedom to make choices about cannabis at home. Bernalillo County may be catching up to what most people already believe, that people deserve the right to relax or heal or cope in their own way without Big Brother looking over their shoulder. And it's about time we let the people make their own choices and focus on what really matters, how they do their job, not what they do on their off time. I'm Stone Slade, reporting for the High at 9 News.
Man, Stone, all I can say after that is weed for the people, bro.
Weed for the people.
Right.
Man, when you said New Mexico, I just knew it was going to be somebody in trouble for some bullshit. But I
thought it's New Mexico.
Yes,
it's the new one.
That's what he said, Jason, as opposed to Old Mexico. Yes. That's right. Old Mexico is located right next to Old Bay. But anyhow, all we've heard coming out of New Mexico is a lot of difficult stories. You know, we had those couple that had the cultivations that were pretty fucking illegal next to their legal ones, and they were enforced for that. We had Cookies fucking up an opening really, really badly, and pictures of minors smoking weed outside their opening with liquor bottles and stuff.
Well, and then we had the
maybe
CBP seizing goods from licensed businesses.
It wasn't necessarily a licensed business, remember? Like they had licenses and then they were getting fucked up on some stuff. But anyhow, this is, for New Mexico, this is good news.
I think it's...
Well, a lot of this has to do with insurance companies, okay? Because, I mean, I was an insurance defense attorney for decades. I get it. They're looking for ways to not have to pay a claim. Okay? And if you're positive for drugs or alcohol, they have grounds to not pay a claim. That's at the heart of it, and it is just disgusting. So I also represent employers. And if you hire someone who's a janitor and they're scrubbing your toilets and emptying your trash, who gives a fucking rat's ass whether they smoke joints? Who cares? Okay? But if you're in a job where you could hurt yourself or other people, now we have some more difficult questions. And if I'm going to be in favor of any drug testing, it's for cause. Okay, you're operating a machine, you cut somebody's arm off. We might want to find out, are you high as a kite or drunk or whatever, because now you've got to make some corrections. I also represented cops, and I was deep into the law enforcement politics, okay? And they encourage you to drink. That was their drug of choice. You could not go to a psychiatrist. You could not take a psychotropic. And even though the beat cops didn't give a shit about weed, if you were positive for weed, it destroyed your career. If you were a drunk, they would buy you a six-pack. That's the culture that we are going to have to fight against. And I don't see a reason why a first responder dealing with cortisol driving their life. That's the problem we have. They're on high-stress jobs. When you get off, smoke a joint, whatever. Take an edible to help you sleep. Who gives a shit? The problem is weed stays in your body for weeks, if not months. Okay? Alcohol drains out of it fairly quickly.
3 days.
And they want to compare alcohol and cannabis, and they're just not comparable. You can't. No one wants to think of a new paradigm for what to do with cannabis. They want to compare it to alcohol, and it just doesn't compare. That's a problem with DWI, with cannabis, all this stuff. We just need to think outside the box a little bit and stop being so draconian when you find someone smoked weed. You're not flying the plane smoking a joint, okay?
Well, that'd be flying high, Dale. That'd be flying high.
Or fly, you know. I'm a pilot. I get it. You shouldn't be high as a kite when you're trying to land a plane. That's not a good thing, okay? But if I'm at home after work and it's like, dude, I want to relax, and you pass me the pipe, who gives a shit? Why is that affecting you and your business? We just don't want to address and answer those questions.
Fair enough. Any thoughts on this New Mexico market, Jess? No.
You're on mute.
He's shaking his head no. He's shaking his head no. Well, fair.
He was talking, Jason. He was
fucking
on mute,
Discord, man. You're right, Jenny Beth. Discord is just not for this application.
Yeah, well, that's where we're going to try out this new software after the show.
I can't wait.
So, yeah.
I'm glad I'm here for it.
Yeah, we are too. We're glad to have you back, Jesse.
Me too, man. It's awesome. You know, the New Mexico thing. This is one of those places where it just falls in it seems like they're pushing it into a gray area, and it seems like everywhere in the country where they push something into a gray area, it doesn't go towards the white, it goes towards the legacy. So it just seems like a risky move to just open it up. I don't know who said Wild West, but it definitely feels Wild West. It feels like you're opening it up to anybody's decision at any time, and then how do you decide who's right? It's just hard. You need a more clear, hard, fast rule here.
Fair enough.
Law requires certainty, Jesse. And there's nothing certain about this.
Exactly.
It's a roll of the dice. And that's just not, I can't counsel people on what to do when everything's a roll of the dice.
Well, what would you say, Dale? You would say, just don't even mess with it, right?
Well, yeah.
Because you don't know.
The downside is bad.
Right.
The downside, it could injure business. Okay.
Yep.
No one wants to do that. But somebody's got to look at the employees. Okay. And at some point, your employer does not control your entire life 24/7. At some point, you got to be able to walk away. And I've got a libertarian streak in me. Stop this shit. Leave fucking people alone. What does freedom mean if 24/7 your employer can control your life? You don't have freedom. And that's a real fundamental problem I have about all this. Who gives a shit? Well, the employer can ruin your life. That's who gives a shit.
Freedom isn't free, Dale.
Freedom is not free.
No, it's not.
That is
Freedom
so...
cost $1.05. Remember that movie?
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Well,
Team America, World Police. If you haven't seen it, do it.
Oh, I love Team America. It's great. I can see Stone singing Team America all day over there in Austin.
ATX.
In Austin. It's not ATX. It's so ridiculous.
It's
people.
the ATX, Jason.
It's so,
you're really gonna have
totally
to
ATX.
It's so ridiculous that people call it that.
It's okay, Jason. This is one of those times where you're just wrong.
Yeah, I'm never wrong. First of all, rule number one. Rule number one is I'm never wrong. Rule number two, if I ever am wrong, refer back to rule number one.
Jason, this is not the hill to die on, buddy.
You know what?
It's okay. The whole audience is hating you right now.
That's cool. They can hate all they want.
It sounds like it's time to keep this party rolling on into Jesse Barney, Jason. Is it?
That's what we were getting ready to do, Jenny Beth.